This is Talking My Walking, and my name is Rodrigo Ribeiro. I'm going to talk today about the European Union and the war in Ukraine. What can we do? It seems that too many people still believe in the official narrative. The official narrative that tells us that the war was unprovoked, that the Russians are evil, that Putin wants to conquer Europe, that he won't stop, that the Russians, everything that everybody knows, that it is easily debunked, but nevertheless the power of the official, not the power of the narrative itself, but the power of the propaganda machine. Because the power is not in the narrative. The power is in the ability to make it ubiquitous and to repeat it again and again until it's very difficult to, it becomes, that's very difficult for many people just to understand that this is a lie. This is kind of 10% facts and 90% of fabricated fictitious lies, obvious lies. And we, by the way, would you like, whoever you are, to have a foreign policy based on hatred, done by people, that is driven by hatred? What kind of professionality, what kind of policy is policy based on hatred? You cannot have people that are responsible for high places of power being motivated by hatred and delusional hubris. This is the worst thing that can, the worst drives that can be behind the foreign policy of any country, of any organization. It will bring destruction, and it will bring destruction not only to the object of the hatred, but also for the people that are subjected to these elites. And that's the main objective, the foreign policy of the European community or European Union. It is based on hatred. Of course, this is geopolitical games. This is also about economic issues, geostrategic issues, but this element of hate against the Russians is unimportant. It cannot be accepted to drive people that should be responsible, and because they have a role in our diplomacy. How can they act responsibly if they are driven by hatred against a people and against the leader of a country? This is not about, and everybody that tries to make to have a point to discuss the Ukraine issue that it's not favorable to this group of people that are in charge, they will make sure that they label you, they label the people that are opposed to the war as traitors, as Putin apologists, and all, and this should be really this is unacceptable. It is unacceptable that what the von der Leyen stances, the Kaja Kallas, the Szyszorski, or whatever is the I think is one of the ministers of the Polish ministers, which I don't remember the name right now. I mean, I don't want to kill the and many others. Some follow in line, this Antonio Costa, the Portuguese, the ex Prime Minister of Portugal, just falls in line. This is just people that don't have a spine. These people don't have there are these politicians basically motivated by hate, driven by hate, and then the ones that don't have a spine, which I mean, this is the political landscape of the European Union this is unacceptable. And how can people believe that we are going? Where do we go? What are we going to achieve with the current policy? Are we going to accept what happened, for example, in Romania? Is this acceptable? It is acceptable that the European Union just intervenes, just as the power to directly or indirectly influence the results of the elections, or just this is unacceptable. This is unacceptable, and this is will end up to destroy the European Union, and this European Union, in my opinion, is not anymore. It is meaningless. It is destructive. It has nothing anymore to do with any union at all. I am a profound believer that we need the European Union. We need to be united. We need to have a common economy. And even in spite of all the what is not the negative points about the common currency, we that might make sense to have a common currency. There's many things that the policies, the ECB policies, and many other things that needs to be changed, and the treaties need to be changed as well. We really, I mean, this as it is now cannot continue unless, because we don't have a federation, but we have an absolutist regime. You know, we are under authoritarian absolutist regime. No, there is no democracy in Europe. And this and my point is that we cannot just accept it. And the problem is, in my opinion again, is that is the right wing, the populist. I mean, it's like I said before, it doesn't matter, conservatives, nationalists, populists. I mean, there are several branches, several tendencies, right-wing wing tendencies that are gaining momentum. But of course, what is more dangerous is the faction of these far right political parties and movements that they have fascistic tendencies. They believe in values, and they believe in order, social order, political order, and economic order that is fascistic. And then we have this new movement, this tech oligarch that is even worse. They don't believe in democracy at all. And I am a believer in democracy. Not this kind of democracy we have, because it's not democracy, but the real democracy. And I think we are going to it is not possible to go anywhere good out of the political atmosphere that we have. You know, it is so unbalanced that I don't know what Europeans are thinking. I don't know what do Europeans want. If they believe in fairy tales, they believe that they can defeat Russia, if they think they can solve anything through military force or just by aiding the immigrants, or allowing a strong government to replace the liberal, which, by the way, liberals are also fascists. They don't are liberals in the sense that we used to understand liberalism. You know, this doesn't exist anymore. Neoliberals, they are fascists. They don't want democracy also. They want just they want just the wealthy, the plutocracy to rule. You know, that's what we need to understand this in order to understand what's going on. It is the war is also the war in Ukraine is also being used as an excuse to transform the European Union in what it should not be. I mean, we cannot give powers. These people should not have power because they are not. How can we allow a woman like von der Leyen? And by the way, her predecessor was really bad also. It was just in different circumstances. It would be as good as bad as her. Mr. Durão Barroso would be as bad as her. I'm almost sure about that. But how can these people be in charge of 405 and 50 million people? The destiny, the fate, all these people, the fate of the economy, the fate of everything. I mean, there are people blaming the policies, the green policies, and they are right about the way these things have been done. Are completely wrong, but it's based on green capitalism. It's not based on any left wing, as they say that this is left wing. There is nothing left wing about this the green policies, the green transition. Neither about the WEF. It's nothing. It is not neither green nor neither left about the policies of these organizations and institutions. But that's what the right wingers are really good about. They can deflect the blame towards the left. They say the left because they say the left, and the left. The left is supposed to be the Democratic Party, or Labour, or all these, or the SPD, or all these parties that is nothing. They are not. Since long ago, they became neoliberal. This is nothing to do with. Nevertheless, it seems that we want to. We just buy into this rhetoric, this political demagoguery that tries to say that everything to blame is on the left. So you cannot trust the left. And they just include everything on the left. This is the same about the right. I mean, it's a conservative, that not all the right is also the same. That is for sure. So the left is used as a scapegoat. Is being used as a scapegoat by all parties. Not like we can say that's why people are are, are cannot see the left as part of the solution, but as part of the problem. And the right wing, the extreme or far right, that those parties, I mean, there are certain parties, doesn't matter, they most probably, they can, and the circumstances might lead them, or what kind of leaders they have, they can transform the democratic state into a fascist state. It's not necessarily that every far right party will do it, but the danger is there, and it is very it should be, people should be cautious before they trust the solutions offered by the far right parties, not because out just of propaganda, liberal propaganda that labels them as fascists, just, but because there is, the danger is there, and that's not only the problem of that, is because the right wing values and principles are not for a more progressive society. It's not in favor of making life easier for workers. They are pro-business. They are pro-private property policies, privatization, and a strong state, but a strong state that protects businesses. And I'm not against, per se, against protecting businesses. It depends on what kind of businesses they are protected. They are going to be protected, and why and how. Not just, I do not. That is something important. It's not about destroying the economic fabric of society, It's not, we cannot just, it's not about transforming society overnight into a really, it takes time and it takes consciousness. That's why it's important to me to, it's not just about demonizing. It's not, we can demonize everything and everyone, but it doesn't solve any problem. That's why hate is not, we cannot be, our ideological views cannot be, political ideological views cannot be motivated by hate. They need to be motivated by the intellectual understanding and consciousness that the understanding of what's wrong and why it's wrong and how can we solve it. What kind of political economy, of institutional structures and state organizations that can help to have a sound economy, but social and ecological economy. And that, I believe, the values, the left values and principles are needed to build an anti-imperialist and anti-war civilization that is needed. Also internationalist, but by internationalist is not because it has to be against sovereignty, because I do believe in sovereignty. I do believe in the sovereignty of countries and nations. But sovereignty needs to be understood as part of a global community that everybody must have a seat at the table. There is no exclusion based on any kind of prejudice. That's a very important point to me. So it's not either or. It has to be complementary. And that's why we needed to fight these people that are in power now. You are either with the terrorists, or we are either with us or with the terrorists. You know, like a famous phrase for the Bush Jr. Okay? So it's not like that. We can be for sovereignty, and at the same time you can be internationalist. You don't need to be nationalist in the terms that any kind of supremacy. What we need is a totally different culture, and that's why I say and I defend that the values and principles, the left values and principles, are useful, are needed to build that reality. And what I see is that the right-wing values and principles, and that might lead to the extreme of being fascistic values, that the fascist values and principles will become a part of the structure of the state, the governance, part of the governance, the danger is there. So we should be able to understand it before it's too late. I do not know how can we make the people be more sympathetic with the left values and principles. You know, the original values of the left. It's not only about being, you know, because the problem with people is that they only, when you talk about left, people immediately associate it with communism and socialism and Marxism and you know, all these. And since the propaganda, the negative propaganda, has been so hard on it, so during decades, there is very little positive views about these regimes. But the left values and principles is not only, it's not, must not be, they have communism, socialism, Marxism is, of course, this guy is here sitting down. He doesn't care about me. He's nice. You see, he's just sitting there. Okay. So this is very important because we do not discuss these issues in an open and honest way, in order to, we just are so polarized, and we follow slogans and sound bites, and it is crazy. Our societies are completely, it is impossible to have a discussion. You know, it is, that's not how we can get anywhere. So I believe that we need to see it through different lenses. We cannot just engage in criticizing, and what is missing is exactly the discussion about the roots of the problems. Why did you get to where we are? What are the forces behind it? How can we frame these problems and search for solutions? And not only for all problems, not only a certain, I mean, the problems are, you have several problems, several layers of problems, and different problems caused by different, with different causes. We need to address them individually, and we need to understand them systemically, which means that we cannot just assume easy solutions. No, we cannot just believe that because we elect someone that will be enough. No, it's not only about electing a savior. You know, there is no saviors. It doesn't exist. It doesn't exist on the right. It doesn't exist on the left, and it much less exists on the center. You know. So we cannot rely on saviors, on people that promise to have solutions and to end this and to end that. No, it has to come from systemic change, and systemic change needs always to fight the power structure, the power elites, the big money and big tech and big whatever. We cannot keep the elites. They may fight, they might not be united against us, but let me put it another way. They might fight each other, but they are always united against us, because they don't want us, the demos, the people, to be able to strike back, to be able to demand systemic change, structural change. And this is not only about von der Leyen or Kaja Kallas or whatever. It is about systemic structural problems that needed to be confronted and discussed. And I'm sure that people will, that if we, it's not only, it is important. I would like to see the Ukrainian war ended, and I would like to see the European Union to reconciliate with Russia and cooperate with Russia. That I would like to see it, because it would be good for both sides. But these people, first, the Russians do not trust the elites in power. That is impossible for the moment. It's not impossible in the future. That will probably, that is perfectly possible. But in the foreseen future is kind of impossible. But things can change fast. Anyway, the need for systemic change goes beyond just the divide, the left-right divide, and that's why we need a more comprehensive understanding of the problems. Because the problems are systemic, they are multi-layered and multi-dimensional, so they cannot just be. There is no easy solutions for them, and that's where I see we fail, because we just the reason why we fail. This is such a beautiful. Oh, I cannot. Beautiful blue butterflies, but the moment I get close to them, they just fly away. So I'm getting close to the other gate, so I turn back soon. Anyways, there's women, they are cleaning the pond. They are, you can see them. Where are they? Let me see. They are there. Okay. All right. These women are cleaning the pond. They bring the grass to the shores. You can see them working. So in this side, I go to the end, I come back It is really nice, and sometimes I can have these walks without crossing anybody. Not every time, because sometimes there's people walking, not many, but just, or cycling, because it's even possible that the tourist guide you can have a tour, a bike tour with a tourist guide, and this is nice ways. This is a very easy to cycle, to a very easy ride, and it's another way to see the temples. Okay, you can see the women now there. I think they are all women. Maybe a man also, but I think they are all women. There are another group in the other side. I can at least, maybe in the other side is, yeah, there are. In the other side might be only tourism. In these last days it has been more quiet. Some days it's very crowded, but for example today you don't see, it's not much traffic, not many tuk-tuks. So the weather is nice, it's not hot, it's very nice to visit the temples. So that's what it is. So I go back. So since the problems are really multi-layered, and we need to, we cannot just you cannot just that's in my opinion a real problem. We still not understand that we the people, the demos, need more political agency. I stretch it because there is a huge deficit in political agency. We cannot, if we want structural change, if we really want not only, it should be worldwide, and it should be a really international movement because these days it's not about dictating global governance. It's not about an imperialistic way, because there are many mistakes. There are many. There's too much misinformation and disinformation out there. There are people that talk about the globalists. Okay, who are the globalists? They are imperialists. Globalists are imperialists. Okay, we have to call to call the beasts by the name. The globalists are imperialists, and these elite groups they are connected by wealth. They are the ones that eat their wealth in what's the name of it now? I cannot remember. In the fiscal paradises. They are the ones that design the rules, and the laws that really govern international law and international financial. So they are the ones in control. That is, and like the Americans that did want to have a say in the global governance, to dictate the global governance, not really, because it will not be about a global government. And there is a lot of misunderstandings about this. Actually, we need a kind of a global chart that this follows by every country, because if we want to have cooperation, international cooperation, economic cooperation, development cooperation, and we want to use the resources in a truly sustainable way, which means that we do not keep continuing have an economic system that is extractivist and productivist and consumerist and doesn't see and doesn't and it is pretty destructive. It produces it cannot go on like this forever. Even all the technological innovations, it is only palliative measures. This is not solutions. This is not this, because the disease is chronic and is killing us slowly, and we are only applying, using technology and technofixism to as palliative measures. So because we don't want to confront the core of the problem, which is the imperialist nature of this system, expansionist, exploitative nature of this system. You know, for what? For private profit and private wealth accumulation and power and control. So we don't address this. So we, in order to change this situation, you need to have an international structure that allows it to happen. So this is not the problem is not because you cannot. I mean, in the world as it is today, you cannot have systems that are you cannot have countries that go that have certain rules and other countries. There is the need to have a set of rules that are really followed by everyone. So because the systemic change we need, the structural change we need, it doesn't work. As I said it before, I want to re-emphasize it, because it's true that we cannot so and the political system. I mean, we again, this is a very complex issue, so it's not easy to talk about it, because we need everything, any movement, anything needs to start somewhere by some whoever, things cannot start simultaneously everywhere. But we need the kind of change we need. It needs to be international. It cannot be successful if it is only a few countries, or even the European Union does it alone. So that's if you want to change, to have a systemic change in our economic system, in the way we organize our economies, and the way the redistributive way of the redistribution of the wealth and everything else that we have as a system that as a societal system and a civilizational paradigm. Today it doesn't work isolated. That's why we need an international system and a global chart. We need a global chart. I don't mean a global governance, but we need a global chart that is followed by every country. And we we need to go beyond divisions. So we need to sit at the table and discuss what does humanity need to live in peace, that we need to live in peace, that to have peace among us, that we don't need to why most wars are economic wars. They are imperialistic wars. It doesn't mean that, like in the case of Ukraine, the imperialist, this is imperialist war. That's why this war was provoked, because this is a war provoked by the imperialist West against a single country, which is called Russia, or a federation called Russia, Russian Federation. And this, so a war can be started by the imperialistic forces, or caused by the imperialistic forces because they want to achieve something with it. And this is so the wars are always imperialistic, even the ones that seem to be started by countries that because there is already they are already caused by imperialism. There are many wars that are not imperialistic by themselves, but they are caused. They are a consequence of imperialism. Those causes can be historic causes of imperialism, not recent causes, but historic causes of imperialism. And this needs to be. We cannot continue with this order. So I do not know what an imperialist order, I do not know the multipolar order is the good and the bad thing. Because if it's going to divide us in groups, or in or in that are not able in divide us in groups and powerful countries or powerful alliances, that will fight against each other or compete with each other to achieve supremacy, multipolarism is going to be bad for the humanity and for the environment. One of the biggest impacts in our environment is caused by militarism. So any geopolitical and any geopolitical configuration of our world that results in militarization is bad for the environment, because we are using resources. First, the military equipment, it doesn't matter what kind, to produce ammunition, tanks, airplanes, or fighter jets, and ships, all kind of logistics. Everything is highly energy consumption and requires lots of resources, and even rare earths, and a mineral called antimony that is not everywhere. That is only a few countries have it also. So militarization, which results from the competition among countries for supremacy, this is an imperialistic an imperialistic view of the world, whether it's economic imperialism, military imperialism, financial imperialism. It is imperialism that it's bad for humanity and for the environment. And by environment, by ecosystem, I mean, it further destructs, it further enhances the overshoot, which means that we are consuming more than what nature is able to recreate. So this mentality needs to go. It's and that's why I believe it's impossible if we don't. And when I mean, I really mean, I said it and I repeat it again. It is about political agency, but not political agency alone. It is about the consciousness that we can develop, the consciousness of what kind of society, economic system, and civilization can be. We can satisfy our needs. We can have meaningful lives, not only one type of life. It's that we can have freedom. We can be, and at the same time, we don't destroy everything. That's why I think we need a global chart and global institutions, but we don't need to be, again, that's nothing to do with imposing a global governance. And I would not be against the global governance if that global governance would be dictated by the people, by the demos, that if it would be in our favor, in the favor of protecting humanity and protecting nature for our posterity, for the posterity. But it's not globalism. is about protecting wealth, the wealth and power of the few. You know, that's and they will do whatever it takes in order to protect their interests. So they will kill us if it's they will use us as cannon fodder. They will get rid of us when they don't need us. They will do whatever it takes to keep them in power. So that's an important. This is an important point, in my opinion. So, and this again, this needs to be discussed in national and international forums, and we need to engage in, because it is, again, I have to repeat it again and again. If we expect that the problems will be, if we trust or believe that there is a savior, there is a political hero, or whatever it is that will come to save us, that won't happen. That is not how reality works. They will use us. There will be a lot of propaganda. They will talk to our hearts. They will convince us that they are going to change everything, but in the end, they will change everything so everything stays the same. That's the kind of change we can expect from people, the people on the right. I'm sorry to say, but that is true, because they don't want to change the structure of this system. They might want nationalistic policies. They might want to defend sovereignty. They might want to get rid of unnecessary immigrants, or to use scapegoats of this or that. But in the end, the values, the core values and principles of any right-wing party, it doesn't matter if it is conservative, nationalist, ultra-nationalist, or populist, or fascistic, they defend the core values of the system we have. So, because you can find some groups that they are anti-imperialistic and anti-military, which is good, but they defend the so-called free market, I'm talking about the libertarians, and this free market is supposed to work for the benefit of everyone, and at the same time exclude the ones that don't have money, whatever is the reason why they don't have money. Because if everything is measured only by money, because everything should be privatized and commodified, money will be the only thing that defines, the only feature, the only factor that defines our value, human value. And that's what these people want. And by the way, markets it's impossible to make markets function to self-organize and self-harmonize without the state and without the state regulation. Because it is necessary somebody to, or some organization, some institution, some system in place to correct, to make it function, to do not allow special interests to take over, to not allow schemes or scams that favor. Then that's what we have. We call it free market. There is no free market. There are free riders. There are people with privileges that use the system in their favor. That's what we have, and that's what we will always have, unless the state is controlled by the demos. When I talk about the demos, is the demos that is conscious that we all are really created equally. Okay? By God or by nature, I don't care. I just care that we are all equal. If our lives are made miserable by economic laws or economic principles, because there is the belief that everything needs to be commodified, so there is something wrong with that system. Because we are all equal, but we all have the same needs to satisfy, or similar needs to satisfy, but we are all different. And some of us, and being more entrepreneurial doesn't mean that he's a better person, or it has nothing to do with being good or bad for society. It's entrepreneurship, being entrepreneurial can be useful for society to a certain extent. But when being entrepreneurial, it's focused on individual pursuit or corporative pursuit of profit and wealth accumulation and concentration of power, it doesn't matter what you call yourself. Libertarian, anarcho-capitalist, fascist, communist, whatever you call yourself, it is irrelevant. Because it's the system itself that is rigged. So the principles need to be always clear. And the role of the demos is to make sure that they are respected. That's why political agency is imperative, is not facultative. And it cannot be just delegated in others. We need to be, our culture, our educational system it is required to indoctrinate us, if you want this word, that we need to, as several principles that need to be in our basic education. And these several principles are the respect for all forms of life. Okay? That empathy and compassion needs to be part of the economic system. Not only as values, as moral values, and but they need to be part of the economical system. Okay? Critical thinking and the ability to understand logical fallacies needs to be taught. We need to understand it. We need to get it easily when others try to manipulate us or to have stupid argumentation, lines of argumentation. So the economy needs to be social and ecological. And all the principles, all the principles that the civilization, the imperial civilization has, need to be debunked, deconstructed, which means that we need to understand how capitalism, so how sociopathic and psychopathic people take over society, take over politics, take over the narratives, or design the narratives in order to manipulate the rest of us, for their own interest, for the purpose of fulfilling their projects. Usually they have megalomaniac ideas. They want absolute power. Some of them want absolute power. So they will, alone or together, in partnership with whoever, share the same ideals, they will create a system, a political system to authorize it, and in the moral code to glorify it, as Bastiat said, as Frederick Bastiat said. So, and besides that, we need an education that gives us, that prepares us to be useful to society in the practical sense, in the material sense. So we need to have the responsibility to be productive and to make our society work. We also need to have the political agency, that you need to have an education that raises us for that purpose, not only for the purpose of becoming a cog in the machine, in a machine that is controlled, owned, and controlled by others. So class politics, the understanding of class politics, is another point that class systems, vertical hierarchies, is another point that needs to be really debunked. We don't need it to govern ourselves. Does it mean that we cannot have a state? That we cannot have an organized system? That we need to live in anarchy? No. And by the way, many people do not want to live in anarchic systems. So that would not be. Probably the majority wants to feel safe, to have organized lives, because it makes our life much easier. You know, we cannot be. That's one negative side of our economic system, that most of us need to be worried about everything, losing the job, don't have enough money to pay the mortgage, cannot afford if somebody in the family gets sick, you just might go broke to save one of your loved ones. All this is not a society. This is just a dysfunctional, murderous system, only for the benefit of the few. And if you think, okay, this is left political views, that people do not value the kind of people that don't value entrepreneurship, that they don't value merit, that do not value hard-working people. I mean, please, stop it. This is not about that, okay? This criticism is not about that people that work hard do not have value, but it means that work hard for what? You know, what we need to ask also questions. Working hard for what? What are we producing to what are we offering to society? What does it really need it for us to have good lives? And what do we expect others to do that we don't want to do, but we expect them to do it for us? Because somehow we believe that our lives are more valued than them, so they are in a lower ranking, in a lower step of the ladder, social ladder. So they might be, they need to be to obey our orders, because they don't have the money. So if they won't have the money, they must just follow. They must just do whatever we wish them to do for us. So we want slaves, but we don't even want to be. We want slaves, but we don't want to be responsible for them. We just want to use them and then get rid of them. So it doesn't mean that some of them do not care where they live or if their families are okay, or some of us do. That's true. That some of us really care about people. But still, this is not the mentality. This is not about people that claim they have moral values and they are religious and they defend this and that, and at the same time they do not understand that the society they defend is based on values and principles that are opposite to the moral values they defend. I mean, that's why this is a very complex issue, because this is all related. Everything is interconnected. Since I started this talk, everything is interconnected, and if we don't understand it, how can we bring change, real change? And I mean, I'm not talking about open change, what is the name of the president that I don't remember right now? It's always like that. When you need to remember it, you don't remember it. Obama way. Okay, which means that's just hope, not change, and fake hope, by the way, which is useless. And that's what they want you to. That's what they want us to be in that frame of hoping for change, and there is a cycle, and then comes another cycle, and change never happens. Change happens. Actually, change happens, just for the worse. That's our lives get worse and worse. More austerity, more precariousness, everything that makes our lives more difficult, more insecure, with more uncertainty, more social misery, while the world has plenty. There is no scarcity. The scarcity that exists is fabricated, because the world itself there is no lack of money. There is no lack of food. There is no lack of stuff to buy. There is stuff everywhere. Everywhere you go, there is lots of stuff that people can buy. And that's the point. Most of this stuff, or a lot of this stuff, is totally unnecessary. It's just superfluous. It's not necessary for our well-being. It's not necessary for our happiness. It's not necessary to make us more human. It's not necessary. It is just for to stimulate compulsionary consumption, which means that you are supposed to consume just because that's what you are supposed to do, not because you really need the things, but because you must feel the need for them. And you just buy it and throw it away, or don't use it at all, or whatever. So I'm arriving to the point where I started. So I'm going to finish it here for today. I know it's a lot to chew. I'm sorry for my pronunciation. My English is not so good. My English. But that's what it is. I hope that I can instigate people to do their own research, to think by themselves, not to give. It's not about me. That's not my words that matter. It's the point. It's the ideas that matter. Okay. So I'm going to finish it here. Thank you for listening.